Amahoro n'ikaze mwese inshuti bakunzi ba Inoka Kivu News, turabaramukije tunabaha kaze ku makuru yacu ari kuvugwa mu binyamakuru bitandukanye ndetse no mu bitangazamakuru bitandukanye. Reka tubanze tubashimire kubera ko ari mwe mukora subscribe, mugakora comment, mugakora share ndetse na like, ndetse n'ibitekerezo byanyu mukabiduha muri benshi cyane. Turabashimiye cyane kuko muraba.
Reka amakuru yacu tuyakomereze i Kampala mu gihugu cya Uganda ku gicamunsi cy'uyu munsi wo kuwa gatatu itariki 30 z'ukwezi kwa 10. Perezida wa Congo Bwana Felix Antoine Tshisekedi yakoreye uruzinduko mu gihugu cya Uganda, aho yakiriwe n'umukuru w'iki gihugu Bwana Yoweri Museveni Kaguta, aho yamwakiriye ku biro byiwe mu mujyi wa Entebbe. Nkuko byagiye bigarukaho mu binyamakuru bitandukanye, Perezida wa Uganda Museveni Yoweri yakimara kumuha ikaze bagiranye ikiganiro cy'imbonankubone, ibyo bakunze kwita mu rurimi rw'amahanga tete en tete, aho baganiriye ku bijyanye n'umutekano w'akarere hagati y'ibihugu byombi ndetse no mu karere rusange, dore ko iki gihugu cya Uganda gifite ingabo hariya mu gihugu cya Repubulika Iharanira Demokarasi ya Congo, aho cyagiye muri operasiyo yo guhiga inyeshamba za ADF NALU zigwanya igihugu cya Uganda, ndetse zikaba zikomeje kwica abaturage mu gihugu cya Congo. Aha nanone muri uru ruzinduko Perezida Tshisekedi mu magambo ye make yabashije kuvuga nyuma y'amasaha 3 bagiranye y'ibiganiro na Perezida Museveni, yavuze kuko atahanye icyizere kubyo bavuganye bombi, kandi ko yizera kuko akurikije ubunararibonye mugayo bwa Perezida Museveni ko ibyo bavuganye mu kugarura amahoro n'umutekano mu karere bizagerwaho kandi byihuse vuba cyane. Nanone muri uru ruzinduko Perezida Tshisekedi yari yajanye na mukuru w'ingabo Bwana General Chiwewe Songesa, aho nanone nawe yakoranye amasezerano n'umugaba w'ingabo wungirije w'igihugu cya Uganda, bakaba bakoranye amasezerano nanone y'ubufatanye hagati y'ingabo nk'uko basanzwe babigenza muri kariya karere ka Ituri, aho bari kurwana n'inyeshamba za ADF NALU. Nk'uko nanone byagarutsweho, dore ko Perezida Tshisekedi yari yajanye na mugenzi we Ministre wa Infrastructure Bwana Alexis Gisaro, aho iki gihugu cya Uganda ndetse n'icya Congo bifitanye amasezerano yo gukora imihanda ihuza bino bihugu byombi mu kugira ngo byorohereze ubucuruzi ndetse n'uruja n'uruza rw'abaturage. Bakaba nanone bongeye gusinya ku masezerano yo gukora iyi mihanda cyane cyane ahagana mu burasirazuba bwa Congo, aho ibi bihugu byombi bihana imbibi, kugira ngo nanone bakomeze bagirane umubano mwiza. Bakaba bongeye gusinya amasezerano kugira ngo iyi mihanda yongere ikorweho hagati y'ibi bihugu byombi. Mu ijambo Perezida Yoweri Kaguta Museveni yavuze, yatangaje ku rukuta rwa Twitter yiwe, avuga ko kuri iki gicamunsi nyuma ya saa sita yakiriye mugenzi we wa Repubulika Iharanira Demokarasi ya Congo His Excellency Felix Tshisekedi. Akaba yageze mu Kampala muri iki gicamunsi, aho ngo baganiriye ku ngingo zitandukanye, harimo ingingo ijanye n'umutekano hagati y'ibihugu byombi ndetse n'umutekano w'akarere n'iterambere ry'ibikorwa remezo, harimo gukora imihanda minini ihuza ibihugu byombi ku nyungu z'ibihugu byombi, ndetse bakaba bemezanyije na Congo ko icyo Congo yifuza cyangwa se icyo Congo ishaka arico n'Ubuganda none nabwo bukeneye, haba umutekano kongera ukeneye na Uganda nayo ikaba ukeneye, ndetse haba n'iterambere ry'imihanda kongera ikeneye, ndetse n'Ubuganda nabwo burabikeneye. Ikindi nanone Perezida Museveni yarangije ashimira mugenzi we wa Congo ko yemeye kwitaba ubutumire bwiwe, dore ko ari we wamutumiye ko agomba kuza bagahura mu Bugande bakaganira kuri invitation ya Perezida Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Akaba rero yasoje ashimira mugenzi we kuko yabashije kwitaba buno butumire yamuhaye, ndetse anamwizeza kuko ibyo baganiriye bagomba kubishakira umuti kugira ngo byose bibonerwe umuti ku nyungu z'ibihugu byombi. andi makuru nanone atugeraho aravuga isinywa cyangwa se ishirwa ku mukono ry'amasezerano hagati y'igihugu cya Kongo ndetse n'igihugu cya Sudani y'Amajepfo. Uhagarariye igihugu cya Kongo Mishabani Luko Jean Baptiste ndetse na Ramadan Mohamed uhagarariye igihugu cya Sudani, aho bavuze ko bagomba gushiraho akanama cyangwa se abatekinisiye bazobafasha mu buryo bwo gucunga umutekano kuri imbibi kino gihugu bino bihugu byombi bihuriyeho, bagashiraho abatekinisiye mbese bazabafasha uburyo bw'imicungire myiza ndetse nibijanye n'umutekano w'iki gihugu, dore ko bahana imbibi ku buso bungana na kilometero 780. Ibi rero bakaba babigarutseho nyuma yuko nanone bongeye gusinya amasezerano bwa mbere mu gihugu cya Kongo Kinshasa, aho uyu ministre wa Sudani ubutwererane ndetse n'ububanyi n'amahanga yari ku mugwa mukuru wa Kongo Kinshasa, bakaba barasinyanye amasezerano bemeza nanone kuko bagomba gushyira hamwe mu bijanye no gucunga umutekano hagati y'imbibe zombi mu gukumira uruja n'uruza rw'abantu bamwe bitwaje intwaro, dore ko kino gihugu nacyo cyakunze kurangwa n'umutekano mukeya.
Je vous remercie également pour les discussions que nous avons eues ce jour.
For the good discussions we have held today.
Des discussions très enrichissantes et très prometteuses.
Very useful discussions that promise a lot.
Qui ont tourné essentiellement autour du processus de paix, cette paix que nous voulons pour notre
turn around the issue of peace, peace which we all like to have.
Cette paix que nous voulons pour notre région. Je repars avec l'espoir que ce que nous nous sommes dit va se concrétiser et je compte sur vous, sur votre sagesse pour que tout ce que nous nous sommes dit
that
se
what
réalise.
We have said, what we have talked amongst ourselves shall be done.
The 3 points.
Les 3 points principaux sont:
number 1, the bilateral security issues between Uganda and DRC.
Premièrement, les questions de la sécurité bilatérale entre l'Ouganda et le RDC.
Secondly,
deuxièmement,
security of the region.
La sécurité de la région.
Thirdly,
troisièmement,
the issue of petroleum in Lake Albert.
La question du pétrole dans le lac Albert.
And then 4,
quatrièmement,
the infrastructure.
L'infrastructure.
Especially the Kasindi.
Surtout
Kasindi, Beni.
La route de Kasindi, Beni.
Tembo Road.
La route de Kasindi, Tembo.
And eventually, at some stage, the Bunagana, Ruchuru, Goma Road.
Et pourquoi pas, plus tard, Bunagana, Ruchuru, cette route aussi.
Equate the M23 movement with extremist groups like ADF and FDLR is deeply concerning and shows a misalignment with realities on the ground. Before making such comparisons, it's essential to evaluate the record of MONUSCO, which, despite an annual billion-dollar budget over 25 years, has failed to secure anything in the Democratic Republic of Congo. 1. When MONUSCO arrived, there were only 3 to 5 armed groups by then was called MONUC. Now, there are over 200, and their crimes are well documented, often brazenly committed on camera, thanks to social media. Having their bases in areas like Rumangabo and Kiwanja, MONUSCO was nearby as FDLR kidnapped people daily. Meanwhile, in Kichenga, where MONUSCO had been present for years, Tutsi people were stoned, killed and their villages was destroyed. But today Tutsi who once lived in fear in displaced camps are now able to walk freely and live in peace with other communities since M23 liberated the area. MONUSCO never provided this level of security. Thousands of Hema people have been massacred in Ituri, at the hands of MONUSCO, yet they avoids any confrontation with Codeco, allowing violence to continue unchallenged. Again, Codeco is among Wazalendo group supported by Congolese government and ultimately at MONUSCO. In SAIC, MONUSCO's presence hasn't stopped horrific acts. People fleeing violence from Kichenga and Mweso have faced roadblocks, and some were even filmed being beheaded, just steps from MONUSCO's base. Over the past 20 years, 90% of Windi's ecosystem has been destroyed, turned into a desert as FDLR trafficked charcoal from the park's trees. Reports even suggest that some MONUSCO staff were involved. Remember, MONUSCO had base in Windi. While the UN blames M23 for Congo's instability, the truth on the ground tells a different story. M23 has brought peace and security to areas under its control, achieving what MONUSCO has failed to accomplish for decades. And yet, critical aspects remain absent from UN reports. Here's what the UN doesn't talk about. The UN's reports lack serious scrutiny of groups like Nyatura, Codeco, and Mai Mai, militias known to target Tutsi, Banyamulenge, and Hema communities, killing people and livestock and destroying homes. These so-called Wazalendo groups reportedly receive support from the Congolese government, which benefits from MONUSCO's backing. Hate speech and targeted violence against Tutsi, Banyamulenge, and Hema populations continue unchecked. MONUSCO's silence on this issue seems driven by a desire to avoid upsetting the government, leading to UNSCO reports that fail to point out the perpetrators clearly. Kinshasa's role in perpetuating these hate speeches on their media and social media remains unchecked. M23's emergence was not without cause. It arose from decades of systemic discrimination and violence against Tutsi communities in Congo. And yet, the UN refuses to give a voice to Tutsi victims, opting instead to cast Rwanda as a mastermind, while ignoring these historical injustices. For those who grew up facing relentless discrimination, massacres, and displacement, M23 has provided hope and security. If MONUSCO's budget were directed toward M23, peace in Congo could be achieved within days rather than dragged out over decades.